Madam President, I rise today on the eve of Veterans Day to honor all those who have and now serving to protect our freedoms, especially the servicemen and women of my state who have such a vital role in our nation's defense. At trouble spots across the world, from Afghanistan, Korea, Iraq, Kosovo, Alaska service members are on the front lines. Today, I welcome the opportunity to praise Alaska's servicemen and women, their families who are such a key part of our communities, and the thousands of veterans who have chosen to live in the 49th state. Madam President, nearly 75 years ago, Air Force General Billy Mitchell testified before Congress and famously said, quote, "Alaska is the most strategic place in the world." General Mitchell's pronouncement might have been an eye-opener for members of Congress in 1935. But the importance of Alaska's strategic location has been well known to Alaskans for centuries. Shortly after Alaska's purchase from Russia in 1867, the U.S. Army was dispatched to help administer the new American territory. Within 10 years, a significant presence was established in Alaska by both the Navy and the Revenue Service, which later became the U.S. Coast Guard. The Army helped maintain law and order during the turn-of-the-century gold rush, which saw thousands scramble north in search of fame and fortune. With the buildup of World War II, Alaska's vital role in the nation's defense grew dramatically. Alaska's Aleutian Islands were the only American territory occupied by the Japanese during the war. Dislodging them in brutal conditions cost Americans and Japanese troops more than 6,000 casualties combined. Servicing Alaska's strategic military needs during the war required construction of the 1,400-mile Alaska-Canadian highway known as the Alcan. This road was built largely by 3 African-American regiments, and their success helped spur the Army to end segregation among its ranks. Some of the nation's most essential eyes and ears during the war were soldiers of the Alaska Territorial Guard. These Eskimo volunteers, capable of living off the land as they guarded against invasion, knew every nook and cranny of Alaska's coastlines. Today, some 24 of these scouts are still with us, most in their 80s, and still living largely off the land through subsistence hunting and fishing. As a member of the Armed Services Committee and working with my colleague, Senator Murkowski, we guaranteed in the next year's military budget bill that these brave guardsmen will receive proper federal benefits and recognition for their service. Today, Alaska is home to some 30,000 active duty servicemen and women. Another 30,000 Alaskans are family members of these soldiers and airmen. Alaska's major military installations include Elmendorf, Eielson, Clear Air Force bases, Army Fort Richardson, Wainwright and Greeley, and Kulis Air National Guard Base. Through these bases, about 1 in 5 Alaskans has a personal tie to the military. To maintain these vital posts, the Department of Defense spends in excess of $1.5 billion a year in our state. That's a huge part of the federal spending in Alaska, which constitutes about 18% of the state economy. Alaska is also proud to have the highest per capita population of veterans of any state. The more than 75,000 veterans who call our state home comprise 11% of our population. Alaska's bases support the latest and greatest in the military's arsenal, from F-22s, the Air Force's latest 5th-generation fighter aircraft, the C-17 cargo aircraft, the Army Stryker vehicle, and the ground-based mid-course element of missile defense. Today, more than 4,000 service members stationed in Alaska are supporting overseas contingency operations around the world. Just last month, we welcomed home the 1st Stryker Brigade combat team of the 25th Infantry Division based at Fort Wainwright. This brigade spent 12 months in Iraq's Diyala province, doing a remarkable job protecting the people of Iraq. Still in Iraq is the 545 Military Police Company of the Arctic Military Police Battalion, continues to patrol the streets of Begich. Alaska National Guard also has a vital role in that theater. The Guard's 207, the 207th Aviation Regiment continues to fly the C-23 Sherpas, military aircraft missions, delivering more than 1 million pounds of cargo throughout Iraq. Back home, the Guard plays a significant role in the defense of our nation around the clock. At Fort Greely, there's the staff, the Operations Center for the Ground-Based Mid-Course Defense System, protecting the United States from ballistic missile threats from countries like North Korea and Iran. The Guard also provides invaluable search and rescue support and other vital missions to ensure the safety of our citizens in our vast state. Alaskans continue to serve in harm's way in Afghanistan and Iraq. The 4th Airborne Brigade Combat Team of the 25th Infantry Division operates in Afghanistan Regional Command East in support of the International Security and Assistance Forces. These soldiers are bravely serving on the front lines, hunting down Al-Qaeda terrorists, securing the border, and trying to establish governance in this vital part of the world. Since their arrival in February, the 425 BCT has suffered significant casualties. In fact, since 9/11 attacks on America, 143 service members from Alaska units deployed in support of global war on terror have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Madam President, I would like to honor those based in Alaska who were killed in action since September 11, 2001. The pictures beside me are those who have fallen in the past year, just since Veterans Day 2008. Just 2 weeks ago, a lifelong Alaskan paid the ultimate sacrifice. On October 23rd in Afghanistan, Helmand province, 2 U.S. aircrafts collided in midair in the pre-dawn dark. Marine Corps Corporal Gregory Fleury was the crew chief aboard one of those aircraft. Corporal Fleury was just 23 years old, a graduate of Anchorage's Service High School. He had already served 2 tours of duty in Iraq as a combat helicopter mechanic and gunner. The helicopter crash that took the young corporal's life was a bad one, but the Marines were able to recover one item that belonged to him, an Alaska flag. I spoke to Corporal Fleury's grandfather last week to thank him for his grandson's service on behalf of this proud nation. Madam President, I will submit the names of all the Alaska troops who have made the ultimate sacrifice since September 11th, 2001 for the congressional record. In addition to these fallen heroes, hundreds more service members will forever contend with the physical and mental wounds suffered in the service of our nation. I've had the honor to visit several of these brave soldiers at Walter Reed, Elmendorf Warrior Transition Unit also. It is critical that the transition of our service members from the care of the Defense Department to the Veterans Affairs is as smooth and as comprehensive as possible. We must ensure that the VA is funded to meet the current demands of this generation of veterans. I'm proud to have been the original sponsor, one of the original co-sponsors with Senator Akaka on a bill signed into law by the President last month, which ensured a 2-year advance funding for the VA. This allows the VA to focus on providing care for our veterans instead of worrying annually about their funding. Today, veterans' population is much different than from all previous wars. Thanks to improvements in protective gear and equipment, many survive serious wounds which previously would have been fatal. We also have a much greater population of female veterans who have unique needs and require specialized care. And today's veterans often have families with exceptional needs. In World War II, nearly 1 in 5 Americans served in the armed services. Today, less than 1% of our population currently serves. Still, some 25 million veterans live among us, representing every conflict since World War II. Our commitment to each and every one of these veterans must be full, honorable, and proud. We honor Veterans Day this week on the anniversary of Armistice and the end of World War I. In my state, we also celebrate Women's Veterans Day on November 9th. On these occasions, let us rededicate ourselves to our commitment to our nation's veterans and servicemen and women so that their sacrifice is never taken for granted or forgotten. Thank you, Madam President. I suggest an absence of a quorum.